Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guests today are returning guests to the show. Up first in the first segment, Charles Young of the Connecticut Department of Labor at American Job Centers. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
I guess the first thing we could talk about is the slight change in name. It used to be Connecticut Works, right? Now it's American Jobs. Talk about that a little
Right.
bit.
Used to be the name was Connecticut Works. All of our centers in the state were Connecticut Works, but then in Michigan it'd be Michigan Works or whatever. And there's been a recent change to nationalize the identity to American Job Centers, so no matter where the job seekers go in the country, they look for American Job Centers and they can find us. So that's our new name.
You like that idea? It kind of makes it easier for people who are looking in the first place?
I do, because I've spoken to people who have relocated in the past and they find it difficult to find the places if they don't know where to look. So I think it works.
For people who aren't familiar with the Connecticut Department of Labor, basically what is that?
Well, the American Job Centers are what's called a one-stop center, and they're a place where multiple entities or agencies come together to help job seekers and employers, for that matter, fill openings and find jobs. For instance, in New London, we have the Department of Labor there, we have TVCCA, we have the Bureau of Rehabilitation Services, so it's a consortium type situation.
And there are these types of offices all over the state?
All over the state and all over the country.
All over the country. All right, so talk to me about how, as we are now out of the recession, I guess, that we were in, and jobs was certainly an issue, maybe starting back in '07. Is life a little bit better now? Is life a little bit easier now?
Life is a little bit better, a little bit easier, and according to statistics, we are climbing out of the recession fairly well. However, a lot of those jobs are maybe part-time jobs or contract jobs, maybe don't have benefits. So there's still some issues out there, people trying to find full-time employment with benefits, trying to find the wages that they had before, which is a little bit of a difficulty. But that's what our services are all about, to help them move forward in that. Whether they're employed or unemployed, doesn't matter.
And there's that new term now, underemployed, right? That's
Absolutely.
the big thing.
Yeah, maybe they were making $18 an hour before, but they can only find a $10 an hour job. That's underemployed.
Yeah.
And anybody underemployed, unemployed, employed, full-time, doesn't matter. Anybody can use our services at no cost.
I've noticed that, employers, companies in general, it seems like at this point they want to hire, they want to rehire, but there's something that's like still holding them back. They're still a little bit resistant, still a little hesitant, and maybe a little skittish about kind of jumping in. They certainly aren't going to go back to the way things were before the recession, right?
Right. Well, they do have some concerns. One is, are we going to have a double dip recession and go back worse again and then have to lay people off? And it's always easier on them if they hire part-time or temporary or contract workers, because that way if their workload drops, then they could just let those individuals go. Full-time workers have more of a financial investment from the employer standpoint. But I think they're getting to the point we're seeing more and more jobs, especially placed on our website, ct.jobs, more and more jobs available every day. So that's really increasing.
Not to mention that if you're letting a bunch of full-time workers go, you're really disrupting a lot of lives. I mean, if that's their full-time job, that's their livelihood,
Oh, absolutely. And it's very tough, and people identify with their jobs. So when they lose their job, they can tend to lose part of their identity. And we have special workshops just for those situations. If people are having the job loss grief cycle that they're going through, confidence makeover, confidence reunion, things like that, surviving tough times. We have lots of workshops.
And that's a big deal, isn't it? It's the psychological aspect of it that probably services for that weren't available in the past.
Oh, absolutely, because if the psychological aspect is making you feel more anxiety or depression or making it difficult, that comes out in a job interview. So even if you're fortunate enough to get a job interview, you can't interview successfully without some help preparing for that, because of that separation problem.
And then there are some people that at some point, if they've been looking for a job for a while and nothing becomes available, they kind of just throw their hands up. And sometimes you're at a point where you almost give up, or maybe they do give up.
Well, that's been an issue, and that's one of the reasons the Confidence Makeover Workshop is so important, is because for the Great Recession, some people have been unemployed 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, even 4 years.
Yeah.
And the longer you're unemployed, the harder it is to get back into the job market, to get back feeling like, yes, I am worthwhile, I really do have skills to offer an employer, and whatever the case may be. So we're there to help get them back to that spot where they can be successful.
And also more, the employer might question why you've been out so long, and it makes it maybe a little less likely for them to want to hire that employee that's been out a little bit longer.
That is a possibility, and there were some articles put out that some employers don't necessarily want to look at people that have been long-term unemployed. But we work very hard at showing people how they can show what skills they have to offer, the value they can add to an employer, and how they can show themselves as really valuable to be hired by that employer, and how they can help the employer succeed.
Let's get into a little bit more detail on some of the American Job Center services. You know, people know at this point you go there to try to help you find work, but some of the other services.
Well, finding work, you have to be prepared to find work. And in order to be prepared to find work, you have to have a good resume. So we have the Resume Basics Workshop, the Resume Critique Workshops, and the Certified Professional Resume Writers that can critique resumes to help that portion of it. You also have to be able to interview well. It's all about presentation. You have to understand what kinds of questions are asked and why, how to approach difficult questions, what are illegal questions, all those sorts of things. So you have to have a good resume. You have to be able to apply online now. You have to have computer skills to look for work. Some people have been in jobs where they've never needed computer skills, but in order to apply for their next job, now they have to apply online. They go, what do you mean apply online? So yeah, well, you have to have email skills, computer basics, Microsoft Word skills, and be able to apply online. And we have workshops to help people get all of that who haven't had a need for it previously.
They might not even have a computer at home. Maybe they go to the library to use the internet or something like that.
Absolutely, and that's why we have a computer area in our offices where we have several computers where they can do online job search, they can apply online, place their resumes online, all those sorts of job search activities in case they don't have the equipment themselves.
I've heard they even teach you how to even dress properly, the proper attire. It all kind of comes together with how you sit in an interview and speak and dress and how you project. All those things are so important.
That's all part of the presentation process, whether it's the paper version, which is the resume, or your in-person dress. Depending on what job it is you're going for, we talk about how to dress one step above the job that you're actually going to be in and to prepare for the interview. That's all covered in our interviewing techniques workshop.
How long have you been doing this for now?
I've been doing this for 22 years now.
Is that right? Wow.
Yes.
So there's obviously been a lot of changes from the point of when you started to now. It's an evolving process, right?
It is. Yeah, it's totally evolving. Even, for instance, for resumes, there's basic things on all resumes. But then when the Great Recession hit, we had to start teaching people how to do their resumes slightly differently, because if an employer had 10 resumes to look at, it's one thing. When they have 700 to look at, it's an entirely different scenario. You have to give them what they want, very easy to see, very quickly, and so now there's a slightly different way we approach resumes even.
So what does that mean? One page, stand out, just get the nuts and bolts of what your abilities are on that first page, and that's it, that kind of a thing?
Well, one page is desirable, 2 pages are acceptable, but you only have 2 pages if you have enough valid, relevant content for 2 pages, number one, something the employer wants to see. And anything that's really important to that job, that employer, has to be on the front page, preferably on the top half of the front page, which is why we've got people incorporating core skills sections near the top of the front page.
Wow. So it's a whole different way of doing it now, just for the resume alone, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so when someone decides they want to utilize the services of American Job Center, what's the first thing they do? What do they have to do when they come in?
It's really fairly easily. We're open generally 8:30 to 4, Monday through Friday. You come in, come to the front desk, say, I'm new to the American Job Center. What do I do? They give them a 1-page membership application, it's called. There's no application fee, of course. You fill out the piece of paper so we can get you in our membership computer system to help you more readily. And then what happens generally is somebody provides what's called a new member orientation. We take them around, we show them the various areas of the center, we show them how it works, we give them a center catalog which details the policies, the procedures, the workshops, the other services, advisory services, all the many things that we have that they can take advantage of course all at no cost, everything right down to faxing and postage for mailing resumes.
Everything they need to kind of help get their life back on track, right?
It's absolutely true. Everything from training, if they need training, there's training available in a couple different ways. For some, you have to be eligible for Workforce Investment Act retraining funds. That's a possibility. But there's a system called Metrics Online Learning where there's over 10,000 online courses available at no cost. You do have to have computer skills and be able to have high-speed internet access. But as long as you have those things and you can learn online, there's a huge amount of services available that way. Everything, all the Microsoft Office products, human resource courses, management courses, customer service courses, and technical certifications from Microsoft and Cisco.
Once you get yourself registered and signed up, are there times where you can just go online and kind of check things out, or do you need to be able to go to the physical facility every time? Or could you go online to check maybe some job listings from time to time?
Well, we have a job search website, ct.jobs, and it's not .com or .mil, .org. It's just ct.jobs, and employers can post jobs and search for resumes of qualified candidates there at no cost, and job seekers can place their resume there and also conduct job searches there anytime they wish. In addition, there's a location on our website where you can sign up for what's called the Business Services Weekly, which is a list of all the jobs posted in our area for the last week on ct.jobs, and you can just get that emailed to you. You can also set up automatic search agents in ct.jobs, so you create all the searches you want, and you have them run automatically. So all you do is check your email once a day at 10 o'clock or so, and there's the links to the jobs that matched your search that came out that day.
Yeah, it's almost no excuse not to, use the technology to your advantage, right?
Absolutely. It's the work smarter, not harder idea.
How have the potential employers been as far as their participation in this? Is everybody on board? Do they like the idea? Is it convenient for them?
I think they do like the idea, and it is convenient. Number one, it's no cost. I mean, an ad in the newspaper can cost an employer $300 to $500.
Yeah.
Placing jobs on Monster.com for 90 days costs about $1,400, but they can post jobs on ct.jobs and search for resumes of qualified candidates at no cost anytime they want to, and they can either create the job in the ct.jobs system, or they have an option to redirect. If they have the job listed on their own website, they can just redirect to their own website from ct.jobs. And they can do it anytime they want.
So they don't even need to talk to a human being. They can just kind of set it all up on their own.
They can do it automatically right on ct.jobs. All they do is set up an account.
Before we run out of time for your segment, any other specific services that you want to talk about? We kind of touched on it to kind of get people's interest there, but anything else in American Job Center services that might be of interest to people? Something new maybe?
Well, again, there's some new programs, and I think my coworker is going to talk about one of those. But there's also various ways that we can help with computer literacy, with being prepared for the job, with getting training. I mentioned the Workforce Investment Act. Sometimes there are funds available for short-term retraining up to a year to get people marketable skills. And I mentioned the Metrics online learning system with all the online courses. All the workshops that we provide a total array of just about any situation a job seeker is in. We can assist them overcome whatever barriers they have to offer. Additionally, and this is somehow not as promoted as I think it might be, is that the employers can really benefit from this, because they can use our systems at no cost anytime they want to post jobs, to search for resumes of qualified candidates, to fill the recruiting needs, and they can come into our offices for what's called employer recruitments, where we give them a space. They come in, they take applications, they conduct initial interviews.
It's like a job fair.
It's like a job fair, a mini job fair within our office for local businesses. It doesn't cost them a dime.
That's great. That's a good point. We talk a lot about the job seekers, but as I mentioned before, the employers getting on board and utilizing the services would be a great idea. One more time on the website. It's the easiest website in the world.
It's ct.jobs.
And you mentioned what's on. Anything else you want to mention that's on the website for people to go and utilize and see?
On ct.jobs, there is a link for our employer recruitment, so you can find out what employers are going to be in which offices and what they're looking for. There's a link for the state jobs. There's a link for the state exam announcements. There's a link for a job seeker's guide to ct.jobs that shows you exactly how to utilize the site. All that information is available, and on the Department of Labor homepage at ct.gov/DOL, you can find out where all of our free workshops are, all the other employment services we have to offer, and many other questions you might have, whether it's for unemployment or for wage situations or workplace situations, whatever the case may be.
All right. Charles Young, the Connecticut Department of Labor at American Job Centers. Thanks for being on the show again. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a short break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I am Sean Murphy. My guest for the second segment is Linda Rakir, also a returning guest to the show. She's a step-up coordinator for the East Region. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Step Up is basically one of the services of the American Job Centers.
Step Up is actually a program of the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so
Yeah, so the Step Up program was legislated in 2011. It was part of the governor's jobs bill, actually, back then, and it's been very successful since then. A few changes here and there, but overall the program has done exactly what it was intended to do, and that is to help small employers hire full-time jobs and to help unemployed people get back to work.
right, and it's sort of almost a continuation of what we were talking about in the first segment about
Absolutely.
people looking for work, employers looking to hire people. Let me get your comments on the one thing that I brought up with Charles in the first segment, and that was you could say that the economy is back. We talked about the statistics and the numbers saying that we're getting back to it, but again, employers might still be a little bit reluctant about kind of jumping in. And just to rehire everybody again?
I absolutely think you're right about that, Sean. And one of the benefits of the Step Up program is it provides a wage reimbursement to them, which helps take the sting out of that hiring. And quite honestly, many of the companies who have used the Step Up program have used it to hire their first employee.
You mean the people that may have gotten let go the first time?
Well, no, not necessarily. It's companies who have never had any employees.
Okay.
They just are finally able to pull that trigger and hire someone for the first time on a full-time basis. Many of them tell us, I can't afford to hire full-time. I can only hire, for part-time. And once we show them the benefits of the program, they've been able to turn that part-time job into a full-time job with the help of the Step Up program. For existing employers, it has absolutely enabled them to add to their workforce and bring back a lot of those lost jobs that we lost during the recession.
And again, that word that we mentioned in the first segment, underemployment. Sure, someone may have gotten a job again, but not quite what they're looking for.
That's very true. That's absolutely very true.
So people that understand Step Up basically is it is a program designed to help employers find employees and vice versa too, right?
Absolutely correct. And it provides a wage reimbursement during the first 6 months of that employment. So it's a huge benefit to employers, and for those job seekers who qualify for the program, it's a huge competitive advantage for them to be able to say to an employer, I qualify for the Step Up program. If you hire me, you can get X number of dollars of my wages reimbursed during the first 6 months. So huge advantage for them as well.
An employer hears the potential for money saved. That's right
Right.
up their alley,
Absolutely.
right?
Money, yeah.
So how does a potential employee get qualified for the program?
Well, there's any number of different ways throughout the state. This is a statewide program. Each region does things a little bit differently. I represent the East Region, and in our region, what we do is we have a couple of different workshops available on Fridays. We have a regular Step Up workshop, and we also have a Step Up for Vets workshop, specifically for the veterans who are looking for the Step Up for Vets program. So a job seeker would attend the workshop to see if they might qualify for the Step Up program. Then we give them tools such as Post-it notes and flyers and so forth so that they can tell the employer that, yes, indeed, I do qualify. If you hire me with a contract in place first, that's one thing we should
Sign
talk
on the
about.
dotted line,
right.
please.
You can receive a wage reimbursement. And if people are working with someone at the Department of Labor or one of the other partners that Chuck mentioned at the American Job Center, they can also ask their career advisor, hey, do you think I might qualify for the Step Up program? And that's the other way. As I say, each region does it a little bit differently, but first stop would be a couple of options would be to go. There's a website specifically for the Step Up program, very simple, www.stepct.com. And on that website, there are two fill-in-the-blank forms, one for employers, one for job seekers. And if they fill out that form with their name, phone number, email address, one of the Step Up coordinators in the state, myself being one of them, will contact them really quickly and tell them what they should do next.
Do you have much interaction with the other regions in the state?
Well, we all work together collectively, but we each kind of do our own thing. And trust me, we're all so busy that we don't get to spend as much time as we would like with each other. But we're all out there doing what we need to do, and that's putting together these contracts.
Is your job different at any point in the year? Like, for example, as we tape this, we're coming into the holiday season. Is your job any different at this time? More difficult? People looking for
No,
work
I
more?
don't think so. Sometimes around Christmas, obviously, things slow down a little bit like everything else, but the program has been sure and steady, and it's always busy. We're all
Now,
swamped.
You mentioned that the whole thing, the line about make sure the contract is
Right.
signed first. Talk about
Right.
that a little bit.
Well, that's one of the things that a contract has to be in place, a step-up contract, before the person starts. The state, this is a legislated program. There are very specific rules about the program, and they have to be a brand new hire, for example. They have to be 100% unemployed. For one of the programs, they have to live in certain towns and so forth. So for a veteran, they have to be honorably discharged. We can go into that a little bit more if you want. And the employer also has to meet certain qualifications. They have to have been in business at least 12 months. They have to have operations in Connecticut. They need to be up to date on all their state and local taxes and need to carry workers' comp insurance. So we have to work to ensure that not only does the employee they want to hire qualify, but also that the company qualifies. It's a very fast process, but we need to put those two things together before we write the step-up contract and before the person starts.
I do want to have you talk a little bit more about veterans because I think that's an important to at least spend a couple of minutes on.
The Step Up for Vets program is one of the newer of the 4 step-up programs, and basically it's to help unemployed veterans. And when the program first was legislated, it came out and specifically was limited to combat veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. They then opened up the program, and this is a message I really want to get out loud and clear, Sean, to any veteran, any era, as long as they served at least 90 days in the service and were honorably discharged and have a DD-214. That's the discharge paper that they get. It could be even earlier if they were separated from service due to a service-connected disability. So we're really trying to get the word out to the veterans who are unemployed or underemployed that if you've got that DD-214, served at least 90 days and were honorably discharged, the Step Up for Vets program could be a huge advantage in your job search. And many employers are very eager to hire veterans. They tell us specifically, I'd really like to hire a veteran. So we're really hoping that this show, amongst the many ways we try to get the word out, that the veterans will hear us and come on into our centers and see if they qualify.
Are you finding that the word is getting out there, or I mean, it's great that you're coming on a show like this, but do enough people know about it?
I think the state does everything it can to try to get the word out, both to the job seeker as well as the employer. But no matter what, people are busy, especially companies. And the state does put in like statement stuffers in with billings, websites, all kinds of stuff. And people will still say, oh, geez, I never heard about it. And you're like, oh, really? But, we try the best that we can. So we never stop trying to promote the program and get the word out.
As if a potential employee is qualified, does that mean that they're also sort of vetted, or does the employer still go through what they would consider their normal vetting process with the employee?
They interview, they hire. All our vetting, if you want to call it, means that we have certified that they meet the qualifications of the program. But we always encourage employers to do the same due diligence that they would with any employee. Because bottom line, Sean, is from day one, they are their employee, subject to the same rules and benefits as everyone else. So they should do the exact same process that they do, regardless if they qualify for the Step Up program or not.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on before we run out of time in your segment?
Yeah, definitely. I think the small business program for employer side, up to 100 full-time employees, and reimburses up to $12,000 of wages during the first 6 months. Huge. 100% in the first month, 75% month 2 and 3, 50% month 4 and 5, down to 25% in month 6. And that reimbursement schedule is the same for the Step Up for Vets program. The Small Manufacturer Training Grant program reimburses up to $12,500 during the first 6 months. And the folks that they qualify, They only need to be 100% unemployed. So for small manufacturers, it's a total home run.
Yeah, and you cannot emphasize enough the whole reimbursement aspect of it
you
because
can't.
because
You
that's what
can't.
employers
That's right.
they certainly want to
That's
hear
right.
that, right?
You know, statewide, Sean, as of this week, there's over 3,000 people who have been employed through the Step Up program, hired by over 1,000 unique companies. Once an employer finds out about the program, trust me, they like to do multiple hiring.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been great.
Website for people to go and learn more?
StepCT.com.
All right, very simple. Linda Rakier, the Step Up Coordinator for the East Region. Thank you for being back on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to take one more break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. So that is our show for today. The website in the first segment with Charles, what was that website again?
Well, there's two.
Okay.
The Department of Labor website is ct.gov/DOL. And for posting jobs and resumes, it's www.ct.jobs.
All right, and one more time on your website.
www.stepct.com.
Linda, as always, you're welcome anytime on the show.
Thank you.
And that is our show for today. I'm Sean Murphy. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. Until next time, take care.